Thank you, Nina Enrique. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. In a dramatic video message, former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has accepted full responsibility for his administration's controversial war on drugs. Take a look.
I will protect you and I will ako ang managot sa lahat.
And the news starts now. In a dramatic video message, former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte has accepted full responsibility for his administration's controversial war on drugs. Take a look.
It's a long haul, it's a long flight. Okay ako. Do not worry. And I think this is something to do with the law and order noon. At sinasabi ko naman sa mga pulis at military na trabaho kayo at ako ang managot. So ito na nga, for all of the whatever happened in the past, ako na yung sa ating law enforcement at military. Sinabi ko na I will protect you and I will ako ang managot sa lahat.
The former president underwent a medical examination before being assigned a private cell equipped with basic amenities such as a bed, desk, and bookshelves. As a detainee, he will have access to facilities not typically available to convicted prisoners, including conjugal visits, an outdoor exercise area, and unmonitored communications with his legal team. Duterte will join other notable inmates, including militia leaders from Sudan, Mali, and the Central African Republic. Despite the relatively comfortable conditions, defense lawyers have raised concerns about the availability of medical care outside regular hours. Russia has presented the United States with specific conditions to end the conflict in Ukraine and normalize relations. Now, these demands include Ukraine abandoning NATO membership aspirations, the removal of foreign military presence from Ukrainian territory, and global recognition of Russia's territorial claims over Crimea and other annexed regions.
Now we all eagerly await the Russian response and urge them strongly to consider ending all hostilities.
While discussions between American and Russian officials have been ongoing for approximately 3 weeks, uncertainty remains about whether Russia will engage directly with Ukraine before its prerequisites are satisfied. President Zelensky has demonstrated willingness to compromise by agreeing to a 30-day ceasefire, emphasizing that ending the conflict remains his priority, while calling for unified international pressure on Russia.
I am very serious, and for me it is important to end the war. I want the President of the United States to see it. I want Americans to see and feel it. I want Europe and all to be in alliance in order to do everything to force Russia to end this war.
А треба зробити все, щоб примусити Росію до закінчення цієї війни.
A ceasefire is not the same as ending the war, and Ukraine's objections have been that it may in fact be counterproductive, because putting in place a cementing of the front lines in their current position without any long-term guarantee of ensuring that the war will actually come to an end risks rewarding Russia by making the current zone of control permanent and freezing the conflict in place as opposed to resolving it.
President Trump characterized recent diplomatic efforts as successful but acknowledged the ultimate decision rests with Moscow, suggesting a successful ceasefire would represent significant progress toward ending the conflict.
Do you have a meeting with Vladimir Putin scheduled or a conversation? What would be your message to
I
him?
won't comment on that, but we had a great success yesterday. We have a full ceasefire if it kicks in. We have to see. It's up to Russia now. But we've had a good relationship with both parties, actually, and we'll see. We'll be knowing people are going to Russia right now as we speak, and hopefully we can get a ceasefire from Russia. And if we do, I think that would be 80% of the way to getting this horrible bloodbath finished. It's a bloodbath is taking place over there.
Despite receiving positive signals, President Trump expressed reservations about Russia's intentions, highlighting that substantive discussions haven't yet occurred and underscoring the potential global consequences of failure.
Are you confident that Vladimir Putin will keep the ceasefire, considering that he's broken them in the past?
We haven't spoken to him yet with substance, because we just found out and we just were able to get Ukraine to agree. So we're going to know very soon. I've gotten some positive messages, but a positive message means nothing. This is a very serious situation. This is a situation that could lead to World War III.
Meanwhile, President Putin continues to frame Russian actions in terms of defensive necessity, focusing particularly on securing the Kursk region and establishing a buffer zone along the border, potentially complicating ceasefire implementation.
That continues to fight here and to fully liberate the territory of the Kursk region, to restore our sovereignty along the state border, and we also need to think of a buffer zone around our state border going forward.
Some American officials expressed concern that Putin might leverage any temporary truce to create divisions between the United States, Ukraine, and European partners. Russia has consistently made similar demands over decades, seeking to restrict Western military influence in Europe while expanding its own regional power.
The one thing that we learn from previous practice in all of the instances where a ceasefire has been brokered between Russia and a victim of Russian aggression by an external power, whether it's France or Germany or the United States, in Georgia, in Syria, in Ukraine itself under the Minsk agreements, always we have seen that it allows Russia freedom of action and constrains the victim. So what we have to look for is whether this is going to repeat that same pattern and be entirely to Russia's advantage, or if, in fact, there is going to be an effort towards a real and lasting end to the conflict.
As international attention focuses on Putin's response to the ceasefire proposal, the situation remains fluid with significant implications for regional and global security. President Donald Trump has vowed to impose additional tariffs on key trading partners, including the European Union. And this comes after both the EU and Canada announced billions of dollars in retaliatory tariffs against U.S. goods following Trump's 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports.
We have been abused really for a long time, and we will be abused no longer.
President Donald Trump on Wednesday threatened to escalate the global trade war with new tariffs on trading partners.
More tariffs on the EU. Will you respond to their retaliation?
Of course I'm going to respond.
That's after the European Union and Canada retaliated against his 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports.
The European Union treats us very badly.
During a meeting with the Prime Minister of Ireland, Trump said it was among the countries abusing the United States.
The EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of the US?
Of course they are.
Canada, the biggest foreign supplier of steel and aluminum to the United States, announced its retaliatory tariffs on billions of dollars of U.S. products starting Thursday.
We will not stand idly by while our iconic steel and aluminum industries are being unfairly targeted.
Canada's Finance Minister, Dominic LeBlanc, said it was a dollar-for-dollar approach.
25% reciprocal tariffs on an additional $29.8 billion of imports from the United States. These tariffs are in addition to Canada's 25% counter tariffs on $30 billion of imports from the United States in response to U.S. tariffs put in place on March 4th.
The EU's countermeasures are due to take effect next month, targeting up to $28 billion worth of U.S. goods.
First, as of April, we'll automatically reinstate our current suspended rebalancing measures from 2018 and 2020, effectively targeting 4.5 billion euros worth of U.S. goods exported to us. And second, the Commission is taking decisive steps towards the package of additional countermeasures applying to 18 billion euros of U.S. exports to the EU.
Now let's talk about Elon Musk, the billionaire CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, and a close friend of former President Donald Trump. Musk is facing a lot of heat for his role in the Trump administration. Take a look. Over the weekend, thousands of people across the U.S. took to the streets calling for Musk to step down from his government duties and for the shutdown of the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. Musk leads this department, which has been tasked with cutting government spending. However, his actions have led to thousands of federal employees losing their jobs, and that has sparked a lot of anger. But it's not just Americans who are upset. Protests have gone global, with demonstrations in Spain, Portugal, France, and the United Kingdom. It seems like people everywhere are fed up with Musk's antics. Critics say Musk doesn't get how this budget cuts. Critics say Musk doesn't get how this budget cuts will hurt everyday people.
The DOGE chainsaw is going to affect us all. It's going to defund life-saving research. It's going to threaten our economy. It's going to impede innovation, and it's going to kneecap an entire generation of scientific talent.
They argue that cutting funding for places like the National Institute of Health would undermine the very science that Musk benefits from.
I think people like Elon Musk don't understand that all the basic medicines that they are benefiting from, everyday life, science that they're benefiting from would be really hampered if NIH funding is cut. And we want medicine to be better, we want science to continue to contribute, and that is going to require NIH funding to not be cut.
The protests have turned violent in some places. Tesla dealerships and charging stations have been vandalized across the country. In Portland, Oregon, a dealership was even targeted with gunfire, damaging cars and shattering windows. In Massachusetts, several charging stations were also set on fire. Musk claims that billionaire George Soros is behind these protests, but he hasn't provided any solid evidence. Protesters say they're just fed up with Musk's decisions that have left so many people without jobs.
When you lose an income, it's painful. We've had conversations about what our future looks like. We have, as you can tell, we have a small home. But my husband and I have said if we need to downsize and get a, one-bedroom home or even a one-bedroom apartment, we'll do whatever we have to do. But it's hard. It's wrecking.
Just thousands of lives are turned upside down. Nobody really seen this coming. Even the people that did probably vote for Donald Trump. Elon Musk has basically taken over our government and has calling the shots, unfortunately, it seems to be.
For many, Musk has gone from being a hero of clean energy to a rogue billionaire who's meddling in politics, and not in a good way. In a dramatic display of friendship and support, President Trump and Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, took center stage at the White House. Trump, once a critic of electric vehicles, showcased his newfound appreciation for Tesla by purchasing a shiny red Model S. This move comes as Tesla's stock has been struggling and the company faces protests over Musk's political involvement. Trump's endorsement is seen as a significant boost for Tesla, which has faced backlash due to Musk's role in the Trump administration. The president went further by labeling those who vandalized Tesla outlets as domestic terrorists, calling Musk a patriot.
Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. You know, I've stuck up for the NFL. I've stuck up for a lot of American companies and other companies, but American companies.
This event highlights the deepening ties between Trump and Musk, with Tesla stock rising by 3.8% following the president's remarks. The unusual display of support from a sitting president has sparked both praise and criticism, with many questioning the ethics of such a public endorsement. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te has sounded the alarm over China's intensified influence campaigns and infiltration efforts against the island. In a press conference, Lai pledged to implement countermeasures to thwart Beijing's attempts to absorb Taiwan.
For decades, China's ambition to annex Taiwan and eliminate the Republic of China has not changed. Not only does it continue to threaten and intimidate, it has deepened its influence campaign and infiltration effort. From the so-called anti-secession law enacted by China in 2005, which views the military action against Taiwan as a national task, to the 22-point guidelines issued last June that impose punishment on people who do not accept Taiwan as part of China, using them as an excuse to harm the people of Taiwan.
Lai emphasized that China's actions constitute foreign hostile forces under Taiwan's Anti-Infiltration Act. He proposed 17 legal and economic countermeasures, including stricter reviews of Chinese nationals' visits and proposals to reinstate military courts.
Over the past period, China has taken advantage of the freedom and diversity of democratic Taiwan to absorb crime groups, media personality, political parties, and even retired military and police, carrying out activities such as division, destruction, and subversion from within us. Recently, China tried to lure our people by widely issuing Chinese passports, allowing our people to apply for Chinese residency permits and identity cards as an attempt to confuse the national identity of the Taiwanese people. China also views cross-strait exchanges as a channel for its united front against Taiwan, trying to create divisions within Taiwan and weaken the awareness of friend or foe, undermining the government's power and creating the illusion that China is already governing Taiwan.
China, meanwhile, reiterated its stance that Taiwan is part of the mainland China, dismissing Lai's comments as irrelevant to the diplomatic issues.
First of all, Taiwan is a part of China. There is no president, and what you mentioned is not a diplomatic issue. What I can tell you is that no matter what the DPP, Taiwan's Democratic Progressive Party authorities say, it cannot change the fact that Taiwan is a part of China, nor can it change the inevitable event of reunification with the motherland.
As tensions rise, Taiwan vows to take proactive measures against China's influence operations. 2 South Korean Air Force pilots have been charged with criminal negligence after mistakenly bombing a village during a training exercise, injuring at least 29 and causing widespread damage. Take a look.
South Korean military investigators on Thursday charged 2 Air Force pilots with criminal negligence causing bodily harm.
In addition to the charge of criminal negligence during their military duties resulting in injury, some combat facilities or military facilities were partly damaged, so those kind of charges were also applied to the 2 pilots, as far as I know.
The incident injured at least 29 people and caused extensive property damage. The Defense Ministry's Criminal Investigation Command said the pilots' errors in entering coordinates were direct factors behind the accidental bombing.
The causes of accidental bombing were that putting in the coordinates was done incorrectly, not verifying that properly, and dropping the weapon without visually checking the target during the last phase of the fire.
8 unguided bombs from 2 fighter jets hit a village in Pocheon, during live-fire exercises. The area features training grounds used by the South Korean and U.S. militaries. A ministry official said that the two pilots have been removed from flight duties, and a review of their certification is scheduled. The Air Force Chief of Staff apologized last week and pledged to review procedures to prevent future incidents. North Korea, which often criticizes South Korean and U.S. military drills, said the accident highlighted the risk of conflict, noting the bombs could have dropped north of the border. An investigation into the incident is ongoing.
An American social media influencer, Sam Jones, has sparked outrage across Australia by posting a video of herself picking up a distressed baby wombat from its mother. Now, the video, which has since been deleted, shows Jones handling the protected marsupial, causing significant distress to both Joey and its mother.
They are gentle, lovely creatures. To take a baby wombat from its mother and clearly causing distress from the mother is just an outrage. And you know, I suggest to this so-called influencer, maybe she might try some other Australian animals. Take a baby crocodile from its mother and see how you go there. Take another animal that can actually fight back rather than stealing a baby wombat from its mother. See how you go there.
As a result, Australia's Home Affairs Ministry is now reviewing Jones' visa status, with many calling for her deportation. The incident has highlighted concerns over animal welfare and the misuse of wildlife for social media content. Jones, who describes herself as an outdoor enthusiast and hunter, has made her Instagram account private following the backlash. However, the incident has already garnered widespread attention, with over 13,000 people signing a petition demanding her deportation. The situation remains tense as authorities continue to investigate potential breaches of wildlife laws and immigration regulations. A powerful 4.4 magnitude earthquake shook the Italian city of Naples and surrounding areas early Thursday morning, sending panicked residents into the streets and causing significant damage. Take a look. The quake, which struck at 01:25 local time, was centered near the coastal town of Pozzuoli, just west of Naples, and occurred at a shallow depth of 3 kilometers. The tremor, one of the strongest to hit the region in decades, caused structural damage to buildings, disrupted power supplies, and left one person injured after being rescued from a partially collapsed house.
I was sleeping, and suddenly I heard a terrible bang. I had never heard one so loud. It was a very bad moment. Then, of course, when I got up, I turned on the lights and saw that my house is full of cracks. There are cracks everywhere.
Despite no fatalities reported, many families chose to spend the night outdoors or in their vehicles, fearing further aftershocks. The earthquake is linked to the seismically active Campi Flegrei region, a volcanic caldera known for its frequent seismic activity. Local authorities have set up a rescue coordination center to assess damage and provide assistance, with schools in affected areas closed for safety inspections. As Naples begins to recover, residents remain vigilant, aware that the region's unique geology could lead to more seismic events in the future. Eyewitness footage captured the dramatic eruption of Guatemala's Volcán de Fuego on Monday in the southwestern region of Guatemala. This volcano is known for its intense activity, spewing lava and ash into the air. The eruption prompted the evacuation of nearby settlements, with authorities warning that up to 30,000 people could be at risk. By Wednesday, the volcano had entered a less intense phase. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back. SpaceX scrubbed the expected launch of a replacement crew of 4 astronauts to the International Space Station that would have set in motion the long-awaited homecoming of the 2 U.S. astronauts. Gabe Singer reports.
we can make a call in.
2 U.S. astronauts who have been stuck in space for 9 months will have to wait at least a few days longer to return home, after SpaceX on Wednesday scrubbed the launch of a rocket carrying a crew that was meant to replace them, called the Crew 10. NASA was set to launch a SpaceX rocket from Florida to relieve Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams from the International Space Station, but the agency said the launch was called off due to a hydraulic system issue with a ground support clamp arm for the rocket. The astronaut pair has been stuck on the ISS for the past 9 months after NASA deemed that it was too risky for them to fly home on the Boeing Starliner craft they arrived on, which suffered propulsion system issues in space. NASA says Wilmore and Williams cannot leave until the new crew arrives, in order to keep the ISS staffed with enough U.S. astronauts for maintenance. The Crew 10 flight would normally be considered a routine astronaut rotation. Instead, it has become politicized, as U.S. President Donald Trump and his advisor Elon Musk have, without evidence, blamed former President Joe Biden for the fiasco. NASA had moved the mission up 2 weeks earlier than planned under pressure from Trump and Musk, the CEO of SpaceX. NASA swapped a delayed SpaceX capsule with a different one that would be ready sooner. The agency now says that the next potential launch opportunity is no earlier than Friday evening, which would put Wilmore and Williams on track for a March 19th departure from the space station.
So space travel, it's rough on the human body, and we're just not built for it. Think about it. No gravity, crazy radiation, and it messes with everything. Basically, our bodies evolved for Earth, not space. So what happens?
For going to space, the main things that happen to people are there's an adaptation phase that happens right away when you get up to space. The components of that are some motion disturbances that can lead to basically a kind of motion sickness in some people, and then the other factor is after that, or the process that your body undergoes to adapt to this new environment that doesn't have gravity in it. And in those areas where the bones support those large muscle groups, like in the hips and the low back and the legs, what we measure is reabsorption of the calcium in the bone in those areas. So that's one of the reasons why exercise is such a big component of any crew day on all the missions that we fly, because as soon as you enter that weightlessness environment, your body starts being responsive to that, and those the calcium loss and the strength loss and the loss of the ability to work, called aerobic capacity, those all start decreasing if you don't do anything to counteract it. Radiation has a number of effects on cells, but basically you're worried about it, depending on the kind of dose, breaking down the way the cells work and potentially introducing breaks and changes into the proteins and the DNA that's within the cell. So the good news is that we monitor this very closely, and we have the crew will wear basically a radiation dosimeter throughout each mission, and so we'll be able to understand more clearly the amount of radiation that they received. And we have some fairly defined and strict levels for the crew. We don't ever want them to get substantial amounts of radiation such that it substantially increases risks of concerning things like development of cancers and stuff like that.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Before I go, a special shout out to Miss Ali Soto. Ali, thank you so much. And with that, we bid you goodbye. Good night.